You know, I haven't done a normal article in quite some time, but this one really tickled me. It has a whimsical nature to it. Brought to us by R. Emmett Terrell Jr. That is quite the name, sir. The big guy, we are facing a national tragedy. I do not mean to be melodramatic, he says satirically, but as I think about Hunter and Joe Biden's problems with the law, it seems to me that we are facing a national tragedy. The president, allegedly, has a son who has been out of his depth for years. Hunter tried to please his father, on that we all agree. Yeah, and several tried to please Hunter, usually for a cash payment, but anyway. He brought in millions of dollars from dubious sources. Hunter was on the board of high-powered foreign corporations with worldwide reach. Then the pictures began appearing in the New York Post. Hunter with his pants open, Hunter unshaven and smoking what looked like contraband substances of some sort, Hunter sleeping blissfully, Hunter referring to his father as the big guy and the brand. Hunter should be happy. His father is the acting steward of the United States. Yeah, let's not kid ourselves, people. Biden has as much power over the executive branch as Kamala does over the fucking border. If his father were anything less, Hunter would be in jail. How exactly Joe got to be steward of the United States is subject to dispute. Yeah, but only if you're sane and not blind. If you're a Democrat, well, that must suck for you. Yet he is the steward of the United States, and so we are stuck with him over the months ahead and maybe even over the years ahead. Let us make the best of it. We do, or else we'd revolt or jump off bridges. His repeated falling over is a perfect metaphor for his stint as the dementia-riddled monkey who thinks he's running the country anyway but into the abyss. But what if his son is found guilty? I don't know, we'll all dance the night away maybe? Moreover, what if Joe has been involved in shady businesses too? What do you mean if? We know he was. We have receipts. I cannot think of a president, not Richard Nixon, not Bill Clinton, not even Warren G. Harding, with greater legal exposure than Joe. There you go, case in point. And it is all because he wanted to stand by his son. Yeah, it's not like he was essentially pimping out his kid and using him to accrue wealth or anything. Joe once said that Hunter was the smartest guy he'd ever known. Possibly he is, but then Joe's circle of friends is not that wide. What do you mean wide? He doesn't have any. And now the walls are closing in on the Bidens. Yeah, but that's only for electoral damage purposes. Can you imagine if Hunter ends up going to jail? I don't know, he get buggered maybe? Wonder if doing so would get some credit in prison, sitting president's son and all. Money would definitely take a hit, and Hunter would take a lot less of them in prison. Well, at least of the narcotic variety anyway, but hey, at least he'll become cleaner. But dirty in so many other ways. If he does, he will have to clean up his act. There will be no more sleeping on the floor, no more smoking a joint in bed. Very few calls from the big guy. Yeah, I think the big guy calling in prison would mean something else entirely. He will not be frequenting the company of strippers as he was in photographs published in the New York Post a week or so ago. Sociologist tells us that conservatives, when polled, usually are happier than liberals. I found this finding questionable, and I offer the Bidens as my idea of a typical happy family of liberals. Yeah, I know Hunter is happier when he's banging something that was just gyrating around one. I imagine it's also a lot easier to appear happy when no one is persecuting you for any crimes. Meanwhile, your son can do yayo in the White House. Allegedly. Fitting name though for a den of power flower, and yes, that is my own slang term, feel free to use it. Joe is always joking, even under stressful circumstances. Yeah, but that's because he's an idiot, not because he's jovial by nature. Jill is always pleasant and jolly, except around Hunter. Probably because he called her a see you next Tuesday. And even Hunter has his joyful moments. His photograph with the joint in bed particularly comes to mind. But maybe the Bidens are the exception. Maybe Hillary typifies the average liberal, or Elizabeth Warren, or the average sufferer from road rage. Good lord, can you imagine Clinton typifying the average liberal? God help us all. Recently, I undertook a study of who might be happier, conservatives or liberals, and to my surprise, I discovered that within the scholarly community, conservatives were happier. Anne Hendershot summed up the findings when she wrote, "More than 5 decades of social psychological data have demonstrated that conservatives report greater levels of happiness and emotional health than liberals. All of this has been so well documented that for the most part, modern social scientists have given up trying to dismiss the data and have instead tried to explain why. Because liberals live in a drugged-out fantasy land, and at times literally see the high amount of antidepressant medication women in particular are popping like they're frickin' Skittles these days, who are deluded into believing they can become men. Meanwhile, the males are, Anyway, Hendershot concluded, the reality is that true happiness and a truly satisfying life comes from caring for others, being physically present to them. Ah yes, and liberals don't care for any of that. Oh no, they want the feeling of being considered virtuous in the eyes of others. But really they're soulless husks who will see the world burn. If only someone would kiss their ass and tell them it's fighting racism to start the fire. Conservatives know that marriage and family life make one happy. Liberals have forgotten this, if they ever learned it. Of course not. They think marriage is patriarchal and capitalism capitalism is oppressive, so the women try to become men to prove their independence and economic worth. Feminism makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? I suppose Joe's loyalty to Hunter started out as admirable, but it quickly devolved into what seemed like corruption. No, it was always corruption. Joe was the corrupter, Hunter was the one that just got lost in a haze of highs and money shots. If it was not corruption for the president, it surely was corruption for Hunter. Why not both? Now what lies ahead for both of them is unknown, but it does not look good. Not for the big guy or the little guy. As I have said, this is a national tragedy. And that last line I'm sure as hell not repeating because that's not the side I'm supporting. Cheers for watching, and once again, I apologize for nothing.